Hello and welcome. This is episode 81 of the Inner Lenses Conversations. Normal conversationalists, Brett, Erika, Gaby and myself. And we kind of wrapped up our last conversation by talking about accountability as part of strategy and goal setting. So one of the things that we discussed was that accountability actually costs us something. It asks us to notice our behavior and actually to take responsibility for it. Not self-blame, not, chastising ourselves, but a willingness to, let's be frank, own our shit. So, what do we think? What's on our minds when it comes to using accountability to manage the way we spend our time, where we put our focus, and things like that?
For me, accountability always had a negative kind of spin to it. Probably because when you translate it into the German word, it's really, the word is really about it's almost like you need to justify yourself to somebody else. And as I am a little rebel, I don't like to do that. Right? I don't feel I have to justify anything I do to anyone. But there's a second part to it, and that comes probably from an earlier time in life, that when people, adults used to hold me to accountable as a child, and it was very much this finger waving kind of experience. So I don't know about you, but accountability, I had to learn to appreciate accountability and to learn how good it actually can be in helping me to get me somewhere where I want to go with the help of other people. And maybe maybe also because it's not cultural to do that, maybe other people don't really even know what accountability is about or what our accountability partner should look like. So what is your experience? But that's my first thing when I think about it. It has changed, but that was my first reaction years ago.
That was held like a threat. I can remember that phrase, you will be held accountable for your actions, throughout an entire career. And you're right, it does come across as very punitive rather than and some of us met within an accountability group, and that had its highs and its lows. But what we all got out of that, I think, those members that were in that accountability group, was the simple fact that when we were coming together week by week to tell each other what we had achieved, it did promote a sense of purpose. Do I actually want to go and stand in front of my peers, who I deeply respect and care about, and tell them that I couldn't be asked? And the answer generally, I won't say always, but generally was no, I don't want to do that. So that was a change for me from, you will be held accountable to, do I want to not have done my best?
This is so wild, what's going on in my head right now. This is interesting. Accountability, like I'm listening to you guys, how it felt punitive to you and all of like having to justify to someone and all things that I have no desire to do. Yet I'm a huge fan of accountability, right? Like in all ways, like do what you say you're going to do, say what you mean what you say, just do it. And if you don't want to do it, don't say you're going to do it. Like very simple. It's really simple for me. So I find the bigger trick, the trickier part is in holding yourself accountable to yourself, right? Like I feel like that is the first thing that has to happen and the last thing that's ever taught. Like we're always doing things to seek other people, to make sure that other people are possibly holding us accountable, that we pass, that like Alec is saying, I don't want to show up and say I didn't do it. But there have been times, even in that accountability groups, that I showed up and was like, yeah, no, I didn't do that. I don't know. Like, that's it. I just didn't do it, period. The trick is to take a look at why didn't I do that, right? Did I say I was going to do it because I felt like everybody else needed me to say, yes, I was going to do that? Am I agreeing to do shit that I don't really want to do, which makes being accountable, keeping myself accountable way harder, right? Am I continuing to do things because I don't want to feel shame about not doing it? Like there's a whole lot for me at play here, but on the very simple terms, accountability just means, like I said, if I say I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it, right? So nobody has to wave a finger at me or make me feel like I'm in trouble for not doing it, kind of thing. But true accountability, to Gaby's point, is really not doing any of those things. It's just being a mirror and a reflection for somebody who's trying to do something to progress their life or achieve something. And you're there to just gently say that it's fine that you didn't. Just be aware that you didn't. And let's look at why you didn't. That's the real reason. That's the bigger part. Not that you didn't do it, but what got in the way? Because that's where the answers are to true growth, I believe.
There's also a part in there about the relationship with your accountability partner, because it isn't just turning up and saying, yes, I did do it or I didn't do it. There's also I'm actually struggling with motivation, creativity, whatever. Can we have a conversation? And that's the partnership part, because otherwise, you're just reporting in to somebody. And I'm not saying that doesn't have some value, but how much better or deeper, probably better said, is the value to an accountability partner if you can hit them up on the phone, send them a WhatsApp, whatever, and say, can you just give me a steer or a nudge? And again, we know that connection, community, etc., builds us up as people.
I don't think accountability is well, I know it's not taught. This is not something that we're taught, right? It's just, it's sort of like, depending on how you're raised and how authoritarianly you're raised, you might be indirectly taught it. Like, I have to do this or I'm going to get my ass handed to me, kind of thing. Or I'm going to hear how bad I am because I didn't do what I said I was going to do. That's not the way to teach accountability. I think it starts with making decisions for yourself and standing by what you say you're going to do and the big reason why you're going to do it, right? Like, that's not taught. This is not taught to us as we're kids. We come to learn this, possibly some of us, after years of beating the shit out of yourself for not doing something, right? Like, I'm a loser, I'm this, I'm a failure, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. None of that has to happen. We could save ourselves a whole lot of pain and struggle if we just reverse it a little bit and start from, what do I really want to do and why? Who am I trying to please? And if it's not me first, there's just trouble ahead.
Right? That's some old stuff. So, in being able to look at that, you can actually silence it and turn the volume up on where you're going and the direction and the focus and different things. But everybody's path is different. There's no magical pill that you can take and do it. It's the exploration of going within and actually seeing what it is and what drives you, and that feeling, once you start following it and turning off all that other stuff, there's an empowerment that comes with it. And then once the empowerment starts coming in, it's like you're going to be unstoppable. But there's such a gap in just looking at, or for myself, right? There's a gap in looking at some of the stuff that might hold me back. because I'm not aware of it unless I have somebody pointing out, like, wow, that's the third time you said that. Let's look at that. There's a win there.
What I found really interesting about what everybody just said is Gaby started off from rule breaking. I went with punitive. Erika, I don't even know if you were aware of it. You said shame. And then Brett, you've brought in this empowerment, which of those 4 words is really the only one that at the end of the day is something we want to move towards as a well-formed outcome. I don't think anybody wants to move towards being punished or move towards shame. So you said about people picking up on patterns and bringing them to your awareness. I'm just wondering what other tools within accountability, if any, are moving us towards that empowerment.
I think for me it's language again. I moved away from calling it accountability or holding somebody accountable, because in my mentorship or coaching relationships with people, doesn't matter where it is, and for myself with my own mentors, I call it a check-in. And it's very close to what Brad actually said. I call it a check-in, taking stock, reevaluate. And it's easier to do it with another person, because we all know about the idea that there are things we can't see, but other people can see. And this gives me the chance that somebody can point out, as Brad said, well, you're always saying this, where does it come from? Or you're always saying you want to do this, but you never do. Why not? So I call it now a check-in, because it's what it really should be in accountability. A check-in for the person who wants to do something but doesn't get there because of certain obstacles that have themselves in their way. So the partner only points them out. There's no shaming, there is no blaming, there's no punishment. It's what's going on. That's the only question really somebody should ask who is an accountability partner. What is going on?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Sorry, Gaby. Just Alec, shame comes to me only because, I mean, if you're held accountable for something, right? I say I'm going to blah 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 by next week, and blah 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 doesn't happen, and any one of you will say, "Where's blah blah blah?" Right? Like, you're holding me accountable. Instant reaction for most humans is to then engage in a list of excuses why. So the excuses come to keep the shame at bay, right? Like, let me come up with all the reasons why I didn't do this, instead of just saying, I don't know why I didn't do this. I didn't do this because whatever. I was too busy watching Netflix, right? There's shame in that, in admitting. So I think the level of honesty with yourself has to be top tier. Being able to just be honest without the judgment, without the self-judgment. Like, I think that's where the shame comes. It's like, you got to let all that go and just be honest about, I'd rather sit on my couch and watch Netflix than do the blah, blah, blah. So I think this helps people, though. It helps me definitely temper the things that I say yes to. Like, I think a lot more before I say, yeah, I'm going to be doing this, right? And you all know this. I'm not one to be challenged without saying, all right, fine, I'll do it. Right? So I'm very careful now, because I know the people that I hang out with before I sign up for something, because I know one of you, or if not all 3 of you, are going to be holding me accountable and gently reflecting, some more gentle than others, of what the hell? What, why didn't you do it? You said you were going to do it. And this is a value system also possibly at play. Reliability and dependability is a big value of mine. So I don't want to get into the slippery slope of saying I'm going to do something and then not do it, and then have to be left with the feeling of shame, of self-judgment, of all that inner dialogue that just keeps me even further from doing the thing I said I was going to do.
And it strikes me as extremely funny that it shows that showed my pattern, because you said some more gentle than others. And I immediately wanted to know where I was on the, am I the most gentle or am I the least gentle? I don't mind being the middle gentle, but I definitely don't want to be the least gentle.
I'm going to say you're the middle gentle. And of the three that I'm looking at, you're the middle. Gaby, you're the most gentle. Okay. So there you go. Deduction.
Yeah. Isn't
I
it?
wonder. Do I need to ask?
That went, and thank you for humouring me because but that was like an immediate, I can't click my fingers. How many other reactions do we have that are that instantaneous, that hint at other triggers that cause us not to do things? For instance, we could probably talk for hours about the benefits of sitting on the couch and watching Netflix or not, and we probably have at other points. But all of these things come up as either as judgments or criticisms, and it's so instantaneous. I wonder if there's actually a way of truly getting past that. Probably the part of self-awareness, when we truly become self-aware, we're no longer responsible for what happened to us, or we're no longer sort of blamed for what has happened to us, but we become truly responsible for everything we do from there on out, which holds within it the grain of accountability anyway.
I think.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go.
Yeah, you had a really good point, because what goes hand to hand with accountability needs to be the responsibility straight away. Because only when we hold ourselves responsible can we surely be accountable to ourselves. It's a given. They're sisters, they go hand in hand. And it's a good point, because sometimes we are not self-aware. We have things on our to-do list. The famous shoulds. I should do this, I should do that, I should do the other. Says who? Why? Is it just a habit which doesn't work anymore? Is this why you can't be held accountable for it? Because it's left its day. It's not important anymore. Just let it go. And that's part of responsibility too, to actually let things go and let them settle and weed out the stuff all the shoulds we don't need. As soon as something is a should, it's something we don't need anymore. Because if it's important to our lives, we don't have a should. We don't watch Netflix. We don't have excuses. We're actually doing it. We don't even need an accountability partner because we're doing it. That's the gist of it, isn't it?
It is, and it brings up honesty. Reminded of something I saw the other day where somebody was in an interview and they were asked what their biggest weakness was, and they said absolute honesty. And the person turned around and said, I don't see that as a weakness. And they said, I don't really give a shit what you think.
I love it. I love it. I love that.
It's true, though.
It's true.
It's really true. Honesty is, how honest can you be about yourself to somebody else? Because that's vulnerability, right? And you're putting yourself out there, and that person can turn around and use it against you. So there's a whole trust piece that you're putting in somebody that, there's a relationship in that. And you don't just drop that for everybody and anybody, because people will show you who they really are. You drop one little nugget, watch how far that goes around, and all of a sudden you hear it over here from that person. It's like, what's going on? So, yeah, it is to know who you're sitting with and who you're sharing with, and be able to share those parts of you that in sharing could really shift you. You have to have that right person in front of you and be that right person for the other one that's in front of you as well. That's the relationship, and being able to share honestly, authentically with each other. So there's, and that could really shift a lot of things. So
I'm fine. I think that I'm putting this to myself, right? Like holding myself accountable is the first goal of mine. Like I know who I can ask to hold me accountable to something if I need to, but it's this is possibly a strategy for the new year, right? And getting really good at holding myself accountable to the things I say I want to be doing. And what I'm hearing in my head is it's dropping all judgment, right? The only way to really hold yourself accountable, like Gaby said earlier, is there's no judgment involved. It's basically, why didn't you do, this is my self-talk, right? Like, why is that still there? When you say you want to get that done, why is it still there? Well, because I sat on the couch and I watched Netflix instead of doing that. And this is where, for me, I hear it in myself and I hear it with other people and clients and whatever. The biggest response usually is, well, we have all these buzzwords where I think people let themselves out of jail free cards kind of things. I chose to give myself that time because I deserve it. I work hard. Okay. That's a nicely veiled excuse. Yeah, you deserve it. Of course you deserve it. So dropping the judgment. Yeah, of course. Sure. I get it. You deserve to sit on the couch. Okay. But so how do you feel about not doing what you wanted? But I feel like shit. Okay. Well, if you don't want to feel like shit, then you have to stop sitting on the couch. It's very simple. It's very simple. There's no judgment in that either. Continue to watch the TV. Do whatever you want. But what you say you want and what's making you feel like shit is not going to go away until you make a different choice. You deserve all of it, whatever that is.
And
Well, there's a time limit to sitting on the couch. Honoring yourself, knowing that you're worthy of the downtime, and it is important, but putting a limit on it so that your whole night's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Alec, sorry.
No problem. And we basically come in at the same thing from a different perspective, I think, which is what I was going to say is you know somebody by what they do, not what they say. So if they say they're going to do a thing, but what they consistently do is sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you can take them to be that person. If there's someone who honours their need for a little bit of self-care and they choose to zone out for an hour or two with a movie or a show, but then they go and do the thing they said that they were going to do, either for themselves. And let's face it, accountability really is for ourselves rather than others, because we're doing the sitting watching Netflix and shoving the crisps or chips or whatever you want to call them down the, then we're not doing the healthy thing that we said we were going to do. So, and this is why I'm really against this whole punitive and shaming experience, because accountability should be for us. It's what helps us have that peace and alignment inside. And I would suggest for our listener that if you are feeling out of whack or out of sync, have a look at what you're telling yourself you want to be doing and what you're actually doing, and see if there's something there that's out of balance. And that will probably be my closing thought. What have you guys got?
Well, my closing thought is actually a new question, and I wonder if that's a new episode next week, because you said it's actually for us, and it's true. Accountability is for us because we're holding ourselves back. If we're not accountable to ourselves, we feel depressed, because if we break a promise to ourselves all the time, we start to feel worthless. So feeling worthless doesn't come often just from ourselves, not other people. So this is what's happening. Now, the question I have is, when we bring that into the workplace or school, how do leaders, bosses, managers, teachers deal with that? Because we started with this finger-wagging idea of what people actually do, because Erika's right. It's not taught. We don't learn that anywhere. We just take it for granted that people can hold other people for accountable, but we never learn as a leader, how do you do that? So do they just repeat what they have learned or seen themselves, experienced themselves, And that's why most people have a problem with accountability. So what can we do to actually, make it more, or make leaders more aware of it?
Good question. To end, for my closing thought for this episode, what we're talking about, I think, is honesty, right? Like, it's just, you have to be willing to be honest with yourself. You have to be willing to hear what's fed back, that question back to you, like what happened. There's no judgment in that question either. It's just I don't care that it didn't happen. Just what happened. Tell me what got in the way. You, as an individual, you have to be willing to handle that and sit in the truth of what that is, as uncomfortable as that truth is. You have to be willing to sit in it so that you can really see it in order to overcome it, get through it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's my thought.
Yeah, closing thought. Give it a shot. That's all I can say. Give it a shot. Do an experiment. Make it a science project, right? Find that person and really check in with yourself. Like, do I have that one person? Or do the people I really share those things with keep me shut down? And really question it. Start with the one question. And when you start with that, that's the beginning of starting the whole process and starting your whole year on the right foot, is just checking in with you. So I'm going to leave off on that.
That's a really good point. Like, I have to say that not just everybody is allowed to hold you accountable. Like, who the fuck? I'm not answering to just anybody who asks me, why didn't you do that? Well, who the hell are you? First of all, it's got to be people that I trust, that I know are out from my have no ulterior motive other than to see me achieve what I say I want to do, right? They're not benefiting from it. They're not, none of that. So it's not going to be everybody.
And that brings exactly back to the point with my new question, because our leader, bosses, managers don't do that. And we can't get away from them. And they will come with an agenda. They probably hold you accountable to the agenda they have. But is it really for the person?
Let's pause that thought there, because I suspect we will be continuing with this very question in the next recording. And thank you, dear listener, and your friend, because you brought somebody else on with you this year. And we will catch you in the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.